G'day guys, today we're looking at the Shaman changes that we can find for Shadowlands in 9.0. Please keep in mind that this is beta, so things are subject to change. With that being said, let's get into some changes that will affect all specs. So first up is Flametongue Weapon. This is a weapon enchant that will last for 1 hour. You'll imbue your main hand or offhand for enhance to cause your attacks to deal additional fire damage. Next we have Lightning Shield, which was a talent for some specs, but is now a baseline spell for all Shamans. This will surround you with a shield of lightning for 30 minutes, causing melee attacks to suffer nature damage. As enhanced, you'll have a 50% chance to generate a stack of Maelstrom Weapon, and as elemental, you have a 100% chance to generate 5 Maelstrom. There are also a lot of spells that are no longer spec specific and are now baseline for all specs. There's Chain Lightning, Chain Heal, Flame Shock, Flame Tongue, Frost Shock, and Healing Stream Totem. Also, Astral Shift now lasts for 12 seconds, up from the old 8 seconds. Earthbind Totem's amount slowed is now displayed on the tooltip as 50%. Hex has had a cooldown reduction and is now 20 seconds instead of 30. And lastly, Reincarnation has now been changed to resurrect you with 40% of your health, up from 20. That's it for general changes. Let's jump into elemental changes. So first up is Elemental Fury's passive has been updated to include healing spells as well. Fire Elemental will no longer make Flame Shock generate Maelstrom, instead it will make it deal damage 25% faster. Also, if you apply Flame Shock while the Elemental is active, it will last 100% longer, which is neat. Spirit Walker's Grace has been added to Elemental, and lastly your Mastery has been updated to also include Elemental Blast and Ice Fury. Let's jump into talents now. So Totem Mastery has been removed, and so has Call of the Thunder, which opens space for a couple of new talents. First is Echoing Shock. This will deal damage to the target and create an ancestral echo. This will cause your next damage or healing spell to be cast a second time 1 second later for free. Next is Static Discharge. This will discharge excess energy from your lightning shield to deal nature damage to nearby enemies every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. It will always prefer to hit targets with Flame Shock on them though, which is nice to be able to have some control over this. Ascendance has had a small change. It will now instantly cast Lava Burst on all enemies affected by Flame Shock when you activate it. Additionally, it will refresh the duration of Flame Shocks to 18 seconds. Elemental Blast will now generate 30 Maelstrom, and lastly, Ice Fury will increase Frost Shock's damage by 300%, up from the old 200%. And that's it for elemental changes. Let's jump into enhancement. So first thing we should cover is Maelstrom. It is no longer the resource used for enhance, everything is now based off mana. So we have a couple of removed abilities. So Rockbiter is gone, and so is Frostbrand. We have a new raid-wide buff totem, which is Wind Fury Totem. This will last for 2 minutes and give all party members within 30 yards a 20% chance to swing an extra time on auto attacks, which will make enhance a great choice for raids. With Chain Lightning, each target hit will reduce the cooldown of Crash Lightning by 1 second. Speaking of Crash Lightning, its cooldown is increased to 9 seconds from 6 seconds, presumably to work with the Chain Lightning change. We have Feral Spirits, which will no longer generate Maelstrom. Instead, it will grant you 1 stack of Maelstrom Weapon every 3 seconds for 15 seconds. And Maelstrom Weapon, as you probably guessed, has been reworked. So now dealing melee damage gives you a chance to gain 1 stack of Maelstrom Weapon, and it can stack up to 10 times. Each stack will reduce the cast time of your next damage or healing spell by 20% and increase the damage or healing by 20% as well. You can only consume 5 stacks at a time, which makes sense as that equals 100%. Stormbringer has also been reworked. It's a lot simpler now, so now your special attacks have a chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Stormstrike and increase its damage by 25%. Easy. Wind Fury Weapon is a new spell that replaces the old Wind Fury passive. It still functions the same, however now you need to apply this weapon buff to your weapon every hour. And lastly, Lava Lash now has a 12-second cooldown. That's it for enhanced base changes. Let's jump into the talents. There is a lot here to unpack. So, Ascendance will now also deal nature damage to enemies within 8 yards when you activate it. Hailstorm has been reworked a bit, so now each stack of Maelstrom Weapon consumed will increase the damage of your next Frost Shock by 35%, and cause your next Frost Shock to hit 1 additional target per Maelstrom Weapon stack consumed. Also, Hot Hand has had a bit of a change, so it will now trigger off your auto attacks with Flametongue Weapon on it. They have a 5% chance to reduce the cooldown of Lava Lash by 75% and increase its damage by 100% for 8 seconds. Now pretty much into the complete tree rework. So a bunch of talents have been removed. Boulder Fist, Fury of Air, Landslide, Overcharge, Searing Assault, Totem Mastery, and Lightning Shield are all gone. This opens the door for Blizzard to do a lot here. So the first new talent is Elemental Assault. This will increase Stormstrike's damage by 15% and make Stormstrike generate 1 stack of Maelstrom Weapon. Moving on to Fire Nova, this will make your targets with Fire Shock on them explode onto up to 6 nearby enemies within 8 yards. Next we have Icy Strike. This will deal frost damage and slow them by 50% for 6 seconds. Also when it is cast, it will reset the cooldown of Flame Shock and Frost Shock. We have Lashing Flames, which will now make Lava Lash increase the damage of Flame Shock on its next target by 100% for 12 seconds. There is Storm Flurry, which gives Stormstrike a 25% chance to strike the target an additional time for 40% of its normal damage. It can also chain off itself, which is kind of cool. Next we have Stormkeeper, which is the same as the Elemental talent which was added to Enhanced Spec, and so has Elemental Blast, again the same as the Elemental talent. A lot of talent changes here. With that all done, let's get into Restoration. There are nowhere near as many changes here. First up is Earth Shield. This is no longer a talent, instead it is now a baseline spell for Resto. Healing Tide Totem will now last for 12 seconds instead of 10. Tidal Waves will increase the healing waves by 10% instead of 20%. And a couple of new spells. So Mana Tide Totem is back. It will last for 8 seconds and grant 100% increased mana regen to all party or raid members within 20 yards. And lastly, Water Shield is a 30-minute buff that you can put on yourself that will surround you with a globe of water, granting 50 mana every 5 seconds. When a melee attack hits you, you will regain 2% mana, and this can only occur once every few seconds. Do keep in mind that you can only have 1 elemental shield active at a time, so this will be in place of Lightning Shield or Earth Shield if you choose to apply it. And that's it for the generic changes. Let's look at talents. So High Tide will now increase Chain Heal by 10% instead of 20%. And we have a new talent in place of Earth Shield, which is Surge of Earth. This will consume up to 3 charges of Earth Shield to heal up to 6 allies near your Earth Shield target. And that's it for the rest of the changes. Let's have a quick look at PvP here. Not a lot at all. So Counterstrike Totem, Grounding Totem, and Sky Fury Totem have all had their health changed from 5 to 50. And that's it. Moving on to Covenants now. So as everyone knows at this point, there are 4 Covenants, and depending on which one you choose, you will gain 2 new abilities. One is a Covenant-wide ability and one is a class-wide ability. The first Covenant we will look at is Kyrian. So for Kyrian, the Covenant-wide ability is Summon Steward. This will call forth a steward that will give you a Phial of Serenity, which is a potion that will restore 20% of your health as well as remove all curses, diseases, poisons, and bleed effects. You can also talk to your steward to change talents without a tome and gain access to a vendor to sell items. The class-wide ability is Vesper Totem. This is a 1-minute cooldown that puts down a totem that can be relocated once every 3 seconds. The totem will make your next 3 damaging spells radiate arcane damage near the totem to up to 6 nearby enemies, and your next 3 healing spells heal up to 6 nearby allies to the totem. Let's look at Nightfare now. So the Covenant-wide ability is Soul Shape. This will turn you into a Vulpin, teleporting you forward 15 yards and increasing your movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds, or indefinitely if you're in a rested zone. While you're a Vulpin, you can also reactivate this ability once every 4 seconds to blink forward another 15 yards. And the class-wide ability is Fey Transfusion. This is a 2-minute cooldown that will drain life from up to 4 enemies in a targeted area during a 3-second channel. If you press Fey Transfusion again within 20 seconds, it will release 15% of the drained life to heal up to 8 nearby allies. Let's look at Venthyr now. The Covenant-wide ability is Door of Shadows. This is a teleport that will make you appear at your targeted location and is on a 1-minute cooldown. And the class-wide ability is Chain Harvest. This is a 1.5-minute cooldown that has a 2.5-second cast. It is similar to Chain Lightning. It will deal damage to up to 5 nearby enemies and heal up to 5 nearby allies. Also, for each target you crit, the cooldown of Chain Harvest will be reduced by 5 seconds. And last is Necrolord. The Covenant-wide ability is Fleshcraft. This is a 4-second cast that will grant you an Absorb Shield equal to 20% of your health. This is increased to 50% if cast near a corpse. And the class-wide ability is Primordial Wave. This is a 1.5-second cast time and a 45-second cooldown. If you use it on an enemy, it will blast them and apply a Flame Shock. If you use it on a friendly, it will heal them, as well as apply Riptide if you're a resto. This ability will also empower one ability based upon your spec. For Elemental, it will make your next Lava Burst also hit all targets with Flame Shock on them. For Enhance, it will make your next Lightning Bolt also hit all targets with Flame Shock on them. And for Resto, it will make your next Healing Wave also heal all targets with Riptide on them. Quite neat. And that's pretty much it for the changes we could find. If you'd like to download any of the class recalls we use in this video, we'll provide a link down below. You can check me out on Twitch for more Shadowlands content. I'll put a link down there as well. Thanks heaps for watching. See you later.